This was a request I got on my Providence vs Venator class video by Admiral Oscar, and a few hours later, Frothy Walrus joined in and wanted to see the video as well. Remember to check them both out. Links to their channels will be in the description. And personally, I hate to disappoint, so I hope you all enjoy MC80 Home 1 type Star Cruiser versus Providence class Cruiser Carrier. As per usual, fighters and bombers will not be playing any significant role. Nevertheless, the carrying capacity of the ships will be mentioned. However, as it always is, it will be ship-to-ship combat only. The MC80 Home 1 class Star Cruiser was a ship that in the beginning was built by the Mon Calamari above the planet of Mon Calamari, or as it was named in their native tongue, DAC, spelled D-A-C. It was built for deep space exploration and research, and when Darth Sidious discovered the Mon Calamari ships and that they were capable of posing an actual potential threat to the Imperial-class Star Destroyers and Victory-class Star Destroyers, Darth Sidious sent an Imperial fleet to suppress the Mon Calamari and keep their ships in the docks to neutralize the threats. Later, the plan backfired and the Mon Calamari ships were refitted into becoming warships fighting for the Alliance to restore the Republic, aka the Rebel Alliance, as it was mostly referred to as. The ships continued to serve far into the years of the New Republic under Admiral G.L. Akbar as his chosen class of flag and command ship, until he switched it out with the much stronger Defiance of the MC90 class of ships. The Home 1 and her sisters formed a uniform design type, cylindrical hulls with a tapered bow, hangar base amidships, and a bulbous stern mounting 10 huge sublight thrusters, 4 M8.0 star drive main thrusters, and 6 M4.5 star drive maneuvering engines. Home 1 was not something that could just be upgraded by anyone. This ship often caused a headache for rebel technicians and engineers, as no single MC80 class of ship was identical to the next. That also included the MC80 Liberty type, MC80 Wingless type, MC80B type, you name it. So rebel crews had to be specifically designed to one MC80 ship, as otherwise some things would malfunction if they began tampering with something. Usually though, most of the technicians and engineers were of Mon Calamari descent, but it still wasn't unusual for other species than humans to be a part of the MC's crews. The ships also varied in size, which I'll get back to in the next section. The Home 1 had a crew of 5,402 members, including 78 gunners. However, a skeletal crew of 1,230 could manage the Home 1 if necessary. Also, the Home 1 type carried 1,200 passengers, 20,000 tons of cargo, and 2 years' worth of consumables. The Providence-class carrier-destroyer was a multi-role ship that entered service in 22 BBY. It was built by the Free DAC Volunteers Engineering Corps and Armament docks. Although the original design was created at Rendili Star Drive, the first plans was actually made for the ship on the planet of Mon Calamari. The ship remained in service for the CIS throughout the Clone Wars, and was still in service when the Republic was reorganized into the Galactic Empire. And as rogue forces from the droid army were still active, a few Providence-class ships were still being used, but around the time of the Rebel Alliance and the Battle of Yavin, a Providence class was a really rare sight. The insane price tag of a Providence was enough to buy 2 Venator class destroyers, to give you a comparison, plus a little extra at the incredible amount of 125 million Republic credits. The Providence class had a crew of only 600, most of which were droids, since the ships were nearly droids in themselves, like most other CIS ships around that time. Otherwise, it had space for 48,247 passengers, and it had up to 1.5 million deactivated droids in its belly. Along with that, it had a carrying capacity of 50,000 tons and 4 years' worth of consumables. The Providence class could actually be called a kind of predecessor for the huge Mon Calamari ships of the MC80 class. That the, to use the correct term, Alliance to Restore the Republic used as their capital ships during the Battle of Endor in 4 ABY. The Providence was capable of landing on water, although it isn't clear if it was capable of landing on ground as well, but since it could land on water, I am highly confident that it could on a planet's surface as well. The Providence was also made of many modular components, which made even people with no mechanical skills whatsoever able to upgrade the ship. So, a great amount of plus points there. The home one doesn't have a price tag, at least not one that I could find, but we can still guess that it was indeed pretty expensive, and I think more so than the Providence. However, that is mere speculation on my part. But, because every single MC80 type of ship was unique, then it presented major difficulties when upgrading them, whereas the Providence was pretty much the same ship all the way through. It was very easy to upgrade from its stock formation. But both of these ships are taken from their stock stages, so even though the possibility of upgrading is available, it will not be viable in this regard. But in general sense, I fail to be able to actually give the edge to either in this category, and for that reason I will declare these two ships equal in general aspects. Now, time for comparing these two ships in terms of speed and maneuvering. The MC80 Home 1 type of ships were the mainstay of the Rebel Alliance fleet, and that was saying something. They were capable of going head-to-head with Imperial-class Star Destroyers, hence why Sidious actually feared the ships becoming a potential threat towards the Empire should the ships fall into the wrong hands. First, the Empire tried to convert the ships into being used by normal human crews, but the Mon Calamari did everything in their power to sabotage any Imperial plans with these ships, hence why the Empire, in the end, decided to block the planet of Mon Calamari altogether. The MC80 class of ships were all the way through made to be handled by Mon Calamari personnel, and at least that is when it came to officers' positions and such. These ships were between 1200 and 1400 meters long, but again, as they were all unique, even their size varied, and that is only for the Home 1 type in this case. And while it was the same with all the other MC80 class of ships and in general Mon Calamari ships, then they're not too relevant currently, but it's still worthy of mentioning. They were capable of flying with about 2700 G maximum acceleration and could fly about 950 kilometers per hour in the atmosphere. The reason for this is that while it's not exactly stated by my main source, I have seen it from my main source in the past. And also, because the Home 1 has a Class 1 hyperdrive and a Class 9 backup hyperdrive, for its size, the Home 1 type was very maneuverable with about 60% of its engine power being diverted towards maneuvering, and that would make the ship vastly more superior than any Imperial-class Star Destroyer. The Providence-class cruiser was 1,088 meters long, 198 meters wide, and 374 meters tall or deep. It had 2500 G, 200 G less than the Home 1 type, maximum acceleration, and 1050 kilometers an hour maximum speed in atmosphere, so it was 100 kilometers an hour faster than the Home 1 in the atmosphere. Not much, but still more. That means that it was also capable of outrunning or even catching a blockade runner by being superior to the blockade runner with 400 Gs, and the Home 1 was with 600 Gs. That's saying something, and therefore I feel that it's somewhat foolish to have so many engines on such a little ship like the blockade runners of the CR-90 and CR-70 corvettes. I still think it is safe to say that the Providence is more maneuverable than the Imperial Star Destroyers, as I also mentioned earlier. And the Providence had a 1.5 class hyperdrive and a class 10 backup hyperdrive. But both these ships are nearly similar in speed and maneuvering. The Providence is faster, however, the whole one is more maneuverable and better at turning, so they kinda cancel each other out. In this category, I will also declare these two monsters equals. Now to the fun part, and definitely the most interesting in my view, the armament and defensive capabilities. The Home One was armed with 36 turbo laser cannons and 36 heavy ion cannons, as well as 6 tractor beam projectors, as well as having a hangar with space for an average of 120 fighters of the various A-Wing, B-Wing, X-Wing, and Y-Wings, and would later, in the times of the New Republic, also be carrying E-Wings and K-Wings, plus more. All those fighters were better than anything the Empire had available, as well as the pilots often being of superior skills to those of the Empire. An Imperial-class Star Destroyer only carried 72 TIEs, 5 squadrons of 12 TIEs in each. However, direct numbers are not specified of which models the Star Destroyers carried, and when it comes to the Rebel fighters as well, but I think it is safe to say that X-Wings were mostly represented in the hangars of the Home One types of ships. This may actually be surprising to some, but let me elaborate. Home One types of ships did not have any laser cannons, normal laser cannons, or anything of that sort, nor did it have any point defense cannons. So now you may wonder, how does it shoot down enemy fighters, should it in fact be swarmed? Turbo lasers are normally bad at targeting fighters and bombers, really bad in fact, but the Mon Calamari ships were in general undergunned compared to the ships of the Empire, so they had to resort to other ways to take down Imperial ships. Now, how did they do that? They had top-notch, superior targeting systems. Even the turbo lasers were capable of shooting down fighters with the same precisions of that of point defense cannons. A typical thing for Mon Calamari ships were their outstanding and vastly superior shielding capabilities. They were beyond anything that the Empire had, and with several layers plus backup shielding. Mon Calamari ships in general were huge flying punching bags. They could take direct punches to the chin and give them back in full force. Another reason why Sidious feared the potential of these ships, and he really did have a good reason to, as I think that the Battle of Endor solidified his concerns. When the ships were refitted from space exploration to warships, their hulls were strengthened tenfold, and also they were even capable of taking the punch should its shields, however unlikely, be taken down. Hull upgrades, weapons emplacements, and upgraded shield generators were all fitted to the Home One type, along with all the other MC class of ships, to make these real viable threats to the Empire. And they could have barely done any better. Now, the Providence definitely had its own arsenal of weapons to boast with. The Providence was stacked from head to toe with as many weapons as it could possibly carry. The Providence had 14 quad turbo lasers, not heavy ones, 34 dual laser cannons, 2 heavy ion cannons, 12-point defense cannons, 108 proton torpedo tubes, and 8 tractor beam projectors. And to help it supply with more firepower, it had a full carrying capacity of 120 Tri-Droid fighters, 120 Vulture Droid fighters, 160 multi-troop transports, 280 assorted droid armored vehicles, and 8 landing crafts. Remember what I said further back in the video? 1.5 million deactivated droids it also carried, if need be. The reactor core in the belly of the beast was powerful enough to make the 12-point defense cannons capable of firing shots that would rival the devastation caused by a 4.8 megaton bomb. That is like a present-time nuclear weapon. And if even the weakest guns had that capability, then I dare not to think about what power was behind a single blast from, for example, the Home 1's turbo lasers. The Providence was literally covered in guns all around, and where there wasn't a cannon popping out of the hull, the ship was armored with some seriously heavy plating. This one I actually thought would be really difficult to call out, but when I look at it, it really isn't. The Home 1 has a fair amount of guns and with the same as the Providence, but unlike the Home 1, the Providence has proton torpedoes which can really do some serious damage, but the strong hulls of the Home 1 type could take the punishment, and the firepower of the Home 1 would be enough to take down the shields of the Providence due to the heavy iron cannons on the Home 1. Also, consider the fact that the Home 1 had superior targeting systems over the Providence, so it could quickly fire upon the weaker spots of the Providence and do severe damage. The Providence carry more fighters than the Home 1 type, but again, those fighters are inferior to those of the Rebel Alliance, as well as the skills behind the pilots, because the Providence only carry droid fighters. But the Providence had point defense cannons, and really powerful ones at that. On top of that, they could most likely one-shot the Rebel starfighters, who would already be outnumbered. These numbers are, however, not relevant to this matchup, as it's ship-to-ship combat only, but they're still worthy of mention nonetheless. But, in essence, without taking fighters into account, the Home 1 has both superior firepower, shielding, and maneuvering capabilities, while only the Providence actually has superior atmospheric speed. And with that said, I think it is safe to conclude that the Home 1 type definitely gets the edge in the armament and defensive capabilities category. And now for the verdict, and for this matchup we will once again set up a what-if scenario. Let's say this take place above Kashyyyk. The remnants of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, or CIS, want to use Wookiees for slave labor because of their great physical strength. The Rebel Alliance has been called for help, and they've sent a Home 1 star cruiser to take care of this. The commanding officers will once again be of equal skill, and this will be a hypothetical battle with one major victor. The Providence is laying over the planet and has its droid forces dispatched on Kashyyyk. The ship only has its full crew, and the commanding officer of the Providence looks down at the planet when the signal of another ship coming out of hyperspace reaches him. An alarm is set off, and he yells for everyone to take battle positions while running a full diagnostic of the ship that emerged. That ship is an MC80 Home 1 type cruiser. The commanding officer on that ship then also runs a diagnostic on the Providence, seeing that it is a former ship of theirs of older design. He then says, "All power to forward shields and fire at will when in range." And so, as the Home 1 approaches the Providence turns to face the Home 1 head on, and it slowly moves towards the Home 1 and starts out by shooting its torpedoes at the Home 1. The superior targeting systems of the Home 1 type does manage to shoot down some, if not most, of the torpedoes, but still some manage to slip through and do some hull damage, however not too severely. After that, the Home 1 type can shoot, and it does. Target their torpedo launchers, the commanding officer says, and by then the Providence has come closer and can now bring most of its firepower to bear, and so it does. The Home 1 type, in the meantime, focuses all its firepower at the Providence, and at the commanding officer of the Providence then says, "Intensify all shielding to the forward bow. Do not let them take down our torpedo launchers." The Providence can't shoot its torpedoes because they will get hit upon launch, and so they'll blow up and can risk doing major damage. The Home 1, in the meantime, has switched some of its firepower to shooting at its heavy turbo lasers on the Providence, and so it does manage to destroy some of them, reducing the punches that the Home 1 type would otherwise take. However, the shields on the Providence cannot last much longer, and the commanding officer says, "Direct all power from turbo lasers to ion cannons." And so the ion cannons on the Home 1 intensify their firepower and quickly take down the shields on the Providence, and by then the reactor power of the Home 1 can then again go back to the turbo lasers, and so it maneuvers up on the side, and then it fires its full broadside at the Providence. In not too long, the battle will be over, as the Providence will be blown up, while some debris will strike the Home 1 and do some more damage to it. But in the end, the Home 1 type cruiser will be the victor of this battle. There is simply too many things against the Providence for it to be a proper matchup for the Home 1 type. It is too old, it is too outdated, and the Home 1 is way too powerful. With that said, I would like to say the Home 1 type will win this battle. Now, of course, this is all just what I believe would happen should this battle actually occur, although I doubt it will. I am really sorry if the Providence class ship is your favorite ship and that you were hoping for it to win, but in this battle it was almost unfair for the Providence. While the Providence is no doubt a very powerful ship, then it doesn't stack up against the Home 1 type cruiser. And the Home 1 type is so much more superior on every front. But don't get me wrong, the Home 1 type of cruiser is by no means invincible, but I think I have said enough. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Which battles would you like to see next? What was good about this video? What was bad about this video? Please leave your feedbacks and suggestions in the comment section down below, and I hope to see you in the next video. Don't forget to leave this video a like or a dislike, depending on if you actually liked it or not, and remember to check out my other videos as well as my Patreon page. Now, may you all have a great day or night wherever you are in the galaxy, and may the Force be with you. Always.